60 years old, carrying struggles and endless love. She is 60 now. But the years did not pass gently through her hands. They arrived heavy, each one carrying a question, a worry, a silent test of patience. Still, she welcomed them. Not with complaint, but with courage learned the hard way. Her back remembers burdens. Her mouth never spoke of. Her eyes have seen nights that never made it into stories. She learned early that survival often demands silence, and love often grows in places where comfort never lived. She carried struggle, the way others carry jewelry, always with her, never showing it off. Bills unpaid, dreams postponed, hopes folded and tucked away, so her children could stand taller. She shrank herself, so others could breathe. Yet love never grew tired in her. It woke before dawn, worked through exhaustion, and stayed awake long after everyone else slept. Her love was not loud or poetic. It was practical, measured in sacrifices no one counted. She cooked strength into simple meals, stitched prayers into worn clothes, and turned scarcity into shelter. Where there was not enough, she became enough. Where there was fear, she became calm. Time etched lines on her face, but it could not harden her heart. She still believes in kindness, still forgives quickly, still hopes quietly. Pain knocked on her door for decades, yet she never let it stay. The world may call her old, may call her poor, may overlook her completely, but those who know her understand this truth. She is rich in endurance, wealthy in mercy, and powerful in a way money will never understand. At 60, she carries not regret, but resilience, not bitterness, but boundless love. She is living proof that even after a lifetime of struggle, a heart can remain gentle, and endless love can still survive. She learned early that life does not wait for readiness. It arrives demanding, asking for strength, before strength is learned. So she borrowed courage from faith, from necessity, from love that refused to fail. Her hands aged faster than her dreams. They trembled from work, from worry, from holding the world together, while pretending it was light. No applause followed her effort, only more responsibility. She stood in lines where dignity was tested, smiled in rooms where hope felt out of place. Even when pride was wounded, she bent, never breaking, never begging, never letting despair see her kneel. There were nights when silence felt louder than storms. She cried where no one could hear, wiped her tears before sunrise, and became strong again, because weakness was a luxury she could not afford. She carried hunger, so others could eat. She swallowed fear, so others could sleep peacefully. Her sacrifices had no witnesses, yet they shaped lives, built futures, and rewrote destinies. Time kept moving, but pain stayed familiar. Still, she chose softness over bitterness, mercy over anger, patience over revenge. She refused to let suffering teach her cruelty. At 60, she does not ask the world for sympathy. She only stands, quiet, weathered, uncelebrated, a woman who survived what would have broken many, and still carries love, as if it were endless. Before the world ever noticed her age, life had already carved years into her spine. Each wrinkle was a sentence, written by endurance, each breath a reminder that survival itself is a quiet rebellion. She walked roads that offered no shortcuts. Every step demanded patience, every pause demanded faith. When doors closed, she did not knock twice. She learned how to wait, without letting hope rot inside her chest. She mastered the art of smiling while hurting, of listening while unheard. Her voice grew softer, not because it weakened, but because strength no longer needed noise. She learned that silence can carry more truth than shouting ever could. There were moments when dreams came close enough to touch her shadow, then vanished before she could reach them. She mourned quietly, folded her disappointment like old clothes, and placed it neatly inside her heart, never throwing it away, never letting it poison her. She became a shelter before she ever had one. People leaned on her without asking how tired her bones already were. She gave advice, while her own questions went unanswered, offered warmth, while standing in emotional cold. Love, for her, was never poetic, it was practical. It showed up as sacrifice, as late nights and early mornings, as choosing others, even when no one chose her. She did not love loudly, but she loved completely. Time tested her again and again, yet she kept choosing grace, not because life was kind, but because she refused to let hardship rewrite her soul. She aged, yes, but bitterness never found a home in her. At 60, she carries stories she will never tell, lessons she learned alone, and a strength that does not ask to be seen. Her silence now speaks clearly, not of pain, but of a woman who endured everything and still chose love. By the time the world called her old, she had already lived many lifetimes inside one body. Her hands carried the memory of labor they were never thanked for, yet they never forgot how to give gently. She woke each morning with pain sitting beside her, like an uninvited guest that refused to leave. Still, she greeted the day with discipline, not complaints. Suffering learned her address, but despair never received a permanent invitation. She became used to being needed, never used to being asked how she was holding up. Responsibility wrapped itself around her shoulders so tightly that rest felt unfamiliar, almost undeserved. Yet she continued, because stopping was never an option. Life allowed her. Her sacrifices were invisible, performed in quiet rooms, behind closed doors, inside choices no one noticed. She gave time when she had none, gave patience when her heart was exhausted, gave love even when love was never returned. In equal measure, she watched others grow, rise, succeed, move forward, and she clapped softly, never reminding them how much of their journey was built on her endurance. She never asked for credit, only prayed that they would never feel the loneliness. She learned to survive. There were nights when tears arrived without warning, sliding down her face, like memories refusing to sleep. She wiped them away quickly, not out of shame, but habit. She had learned long ago that the world pauses for no one's pain. Still, love remained her language. Not the loud, dramatic kind, but the steady, reliable love that stays when everything else leaves. The love that cooks, waits, forgives, and keeps promises, even when the heart is tired. At 60, she carries the weight of all she never said, all she never asked for, all she quietly endured. Yet she stands, not broken, not bitter, but shaped by pain, into a woman whose strength no storm could erase. She never learned strength from books or speeches. Her strength was carved by days that demanded too much, and nights that offered too little rest. Life trained her slowly, lesson by lesson, until endurance became second nature. She learned how to smile while her back ached, how to speak softly when her heart was screaming, how to keep moving even when hope felt thin. The world saw an ordinary woman, but it never saw the wars. She survived silently. She did not break. When things fell apart, she gathered the pieces, even the sharp ones, and learned how to live with cuts no one could see. Pain became familiar, yet it never made her cruel. If anything, it made her gentler with everyone else's wounds. She knew what it meant to be forgotten in rooms full of people. She knew how it felt to give endlessly and still be called insufficient. But instead of hardening, her heart stayed open, a risky choice she made again and again. Her love was not poetic, yet it was sacred. It showed up daily, without applause, without witnesses. It lived in sacrifices no one posted about, in prayers whispered alone, in patience stretched far beyond comfort. She never chased happiness. She built peace from whatever pieces life left behind. And even when joy was rare, she protected it carefully, like a small flame in strong wind. At 60, she does not call herself brave. She calls herself tired. But she still shows up. She still loves. She still gives. And that quiet decision to keep going is the truest form of courage this world will ever know. Her love never demanded a stage. It never raised its voice to prove its worth. It simply existed, steady, loyal, like a shadow that refuses to leave even at sunset. She loved without conditions, without contracts, without promises of return. Her heart gave freely, even when experience warned her that giving often leads to emptiness. Still she gave, not because she was naive, but because love was her nature. She learned early that gratitude is rare, and recognition even rarer. Yet she never stopped cooking hope into tired days, never stopped stitching warmth into cold moments. Her affection lived in details, a remembered preference, a quiet check-in, a presence that said, "I am here," even when words failed. She carried disappointments like folded letters in her chest, never burning them, never throwing them away. They stayed with her, not as bitterness, but as reminders of how deeply she once believed. And somehow, belief survived. Time aged her hands, but not her tenderness. Wrinkles mapped stories of worry and waiting. Yet her touch still carried comfort. She could calm storms without speaking, heal fractures without advice. Love flowed from her as naturally as breath. She did not love loudly, but she loved lastingly. When others walked away, she stayed. When the world turned harsh, she softened it, even if just a little, even if only for one soul. At 60, her love has no illusions left, yet it has not retired. It continues quietly, faithfully, asking for nothing but meaning. And that is why her love, though unseen by many, will outlive everything else. She carried weight no scale could measure, not in gold, not in property, but in memories stacked, one upon another, until her silence learned how to stand straight. Every loss found a place inside her chest. Every sacrifice settled there too, quietly, without complaint. She never announced what she carried, because strength to her was never meant to be loud. She learned how to smile while her heart rehearsed endurance. Learned how to say, "I am fine," in 1,000 convincing ways. The world mistook her calm for ease, never guessing how many nights taught her that skill. Her shoulders bent, not from age alone, but from years of responsibility, placed there by fate. Others leaned on her, rested on her patience, borrowed her courage, and forgot to return it. Still, she did not collapse. She became the woman who holds families together, the pillar everyone trusts, until it cracks quietly. In private, she fixed what she did not break, forgave what wounded her, and kept walking, because stopping was never an option. Pain knocked often, and she answered politely. She learned its language, its rhythm, its favorite hours. Yet she refused to let pain define her voice. She spoke kindness instead, even when her throat burned with unspoken truths. At 60, she does not ask for the load to be lighter. She simply adjusts her grip, tightens her resolve, and keeps moving forward, not because she must, but because love still gives her a reason. She is not fragile. She is forged, not untouched by fire, but shaped by it. And the weight she carries has not crushed her. It has made her unbreakable. Time tried to take everything from her. It reached for her dreams first, then her rest, then her youth, thinking she would eventually surrender what remained. But time underestimated the quiet defiance in her soul. She learned early that life does not ask permission before it takes. So she stopped begging it to be gentle. Instead, she taught her heart how to survive storms without forgetting how to love the rain. There were moments she could have chosen bitterness, moments when anger would have been justified, when resentment would have felt like justice. But she chose something harder. She chose grace, not because she was weak, but because she was tired of letting pain decide who she should become. Her hands, now lined with age, once held hopes that never came true. They cooked, cleaned, prayed, and wiped tears that were not always her own. Those hands learned the shape of sacrifice, until giving became instinct, until holding on felt unnatural. She lost things the world never noticed. Small joys, unspoken wishes, a version of herself that might have laughed louder, rested more, asked for less forgiveness, for simply existing. Yet even in loss, she remained whole. At 60, she does not chase happiness. She recognizes it in quiet mornings, in familiar voices, in knowing she endured what once threatened to end her. That knowledge sits in her chest like a quiet crown. She no longer needs to prove her strength. Every wrinkle testifies. Every sigh carries history. Every calm reaction reveals battles already won. She has nothing left to impress, only truth left to live. The years tried to empty her, but they failed. They took much, yes, but they could not take her capacity to love, her instinct to protect, her stubborn hope that goodness still matters. She stands now, not untouched, not unscarred, but undefeated. And what the years could not take from her is exactly what makes her priceless. She has walked through decades with a quiet that is louder than noise. Every unspoken word carried meaning. Every withheld complaint taught patience. Every hidden tear told a story no one bothered to ask. Her life is a library of invisible lessons, shelves stacked with endurance, volumes of sacrifice, chapters of love, written in actions, never words. She never needed recognition. Her proof was in survival. People may glance at her and see frailty. They may notice her hands, softened by years of work, her back, bent with time, her eyes, quiet with experience. But they do not see the battles that made her strong, the night she endured alone, the countless times she rose when everyone else would have fallen. She learned early that the world does not pause for pain or for mercy. So she built resilience, like a shield around her heart, learning to love anyway, even when love went unnoticed. Her silence is not emptiness. It is depth. It is the wisdom that comes from surviving what few could endure. Every unspoken word is a vow. Every calm smile, a triumph. Even at 60, she is more than her years, more than her losses, more than the poverty the world labels her with. She is a force of unwavering love, of quiet courage, a patience that never quits. At the end of the day, her life speaks louder than any words. It tells of strength, of love, of endurance, of a woman who gave everything without asking for anything, and in doing so, became everything to those who mattered most. The world may never understand her, but those who see carefully recognize a truth. She is priceless, not in what she owns, but in the heart she carries and the love she gives. At 60, she stands as proof that love is not measured in wealth, nor patience in applause. She has lived quietly, given endlessly, and endured what would have broken most. Her hands are empty, yet they have held the weight of others' lives. Her heart, worn by time, still beats with compassion, stronger than mountains, and gentler than the morning breeze. She walked through storms that threatened to drown hope, yet she emerged with grace intact, a smile unshaken, and love unspent. Every sacrifice she made was a seed planted in the lives she nurtured. Every tear she shed was a testament to the battles silently won. And even though recognition rarely came, her soul remained proud, unbowed, and undefeated. Her eyes have seen pain that could have embittered anyone, yet they shine with warmth, with understanding, with a quiet wisdom earned through a lifetime of giving. She taught that wealth is not gold, nor happiness the absence of sorrow, but the courage to love deeply, even when the world offers nothing in return. At 60, her legacy is not written in possessions, nor remembered in stories told aloud. It is etched in hearts, felt by those whose lives she touched, and carried forward in the love she quietly inspired. And now, dear reader, look closely at the women around you. See the invisible battles they fight. Honor their endurance, and never take for granted the quiet power of a loving heart. Speech balloon, if her story touched you, leave a comment below and share how love like hers inspires your life.